Are you struggling to climb the corporate ladder? Are you struggling with figuring out who you need to know at work, how to network, how to build these relationships? This is the place you need to be. Hi, my name is Dr. Courtney Pegram, and I am the host of The Ordinary Professor. All things feeling, social skills, and professionalism. Today we're going to talk about how to build alliances. Now, this is something that I do a lot with my clients because I find it's super important and it's undervalued resources. So you don't want to be besties with everyone at work. And obviously you'll have people that you're closer to than others. But it's about developing strategic relationships that will help you and help them grow like each other's career. Now, I pause in between this because there's a few things that often people like push back on. Like, I don't want to be fake. I hate the business politics, or I don't even know where to start. And so oftentimes when I'm working on executive coaching with my clients, so I'm coaching people that are like middle management and they need to get up, right? So before they hit C-suite. And so that's like that sweet spot of you need to develop these relationship skills that no one's taught you. The influential skills, the executive presence. So you've been a great manager and you are fantastic at managing down, but you can't manage up. And you also struggle at like building relationships, understanding what that means, what that looks like. And you're like, how do I do all the thing? So I'm going to give you some quick tips on how to do it. And then some do's and don'ts. So let's talk about tips to build like strategic relationships or alliances within the workplace. Number one, you need to figure out, who do you need to know? So that's a fully complicated question. Let's break it down. You need to know who's in power within your organization, social power, also who's in power as far as can give you answers, get you bigger budgets, do all these things. And so you're not building fake relationships. You're there also to serve them. How can you help them? So let's take one of my clients. So their job is to really be an advisor to other people within the company. And so what they need to work on is constantly being in the know. That's their power. They need to know when decisions are moving forward, what decisions aren't being made, what initiatives are just formulating. They need to know everything and be able to deliver it to the different departments to kind of streamline communication. Now, so originally that wasn't necessarily part of their job, but that's one of the skills set they hold and where they bring the most influence. They're not the biggest talkers in the meetings. They're not the biggest ones that speak the loudest, but they're the ones that are most powerful because they know everything. So they've built these alliances where they meet with these different people in the departments. I think it's quarterly. There's weekly meetings sometimes with some of them, and there's monthly meetings. So depending on what you want to do. And so the goal of this example is to see that you have to figure out who's who in the company and who you need to know. Now, if you're at a manager position, you need to know everyone that's within your level, right? I mean, depending on the size of the company, but give or take, who are at the same level of you, same job, who's doing what, right? And understanding what they actually do for a job. You also need to know the second level up, right? So who's your manager and then their manager, but also who's in that circle. And so it's thinking about, I'll just use a playground for a second. It's figuring out what's in your playground. Where do you want to go? How do you get there? And who do you need to know to get there? And that's building your alliances. It's figuring out who can serve you, who can you serve, what resources do you have, and what resource do you need? Now, when I tell my clients to build alliances, I also figure out okay, so let's break down, what are your career goals? So if your career goal is to move up the corporate ladder, then you need to know people moving up, right? You also have to have a sphere of influence that when you're not in a room, people are speaking very highly of you and they know who you are without you being braggalicious. Additionally, you need to be seen and heard in spaces that can put you in those positions for promotion. Now, if you're more of a rock star, I just really want to do well my job and continue doing well, and there's a lot of cuts happening in the department, you need to know who can help you keep your job, showcase that you're performing really well, and that you're a keeper, that you're worth that position, right? So you have to fight for your job, but to do that, you also have to know who can provide that information to you, who is in charge of making these decisions, and be in good alliances with them. Now, once you figure out who you need to know, so let's talk about that professional sphere of influence. You need an ambassador, someone that's always going to vouch for you. You need someone that's always in the know, that will give you information before a meeting, before decisions, so that you can have everything at the table. You need to be in good standing with your bosses and your boss's boss, and they need to know who you are. You need to have someone that you can throw an idea at, right? And they can break it down, give you feedback. You're going to take it and you're going to go and be like, okay, you need to go work this out, right? So someone that's kind of like your sounding board, your intellect. You also need a mentor at work. That is super critical. I talk a lot about mentorship in my other podcasts, and then additionally my professional, like I've had mentors throughout my career, and I think this one is probably the most powerful mentor I've had, because he was in the industry for so many years. He's seen it all, right? But also he's been in my position, knows my track, knows exactly. So he gives me the best advice. Also, he knows a lot about me, so he can call me out and I will receive his feedback. So you need someone like that, so they can put you, they can be like, okay, so now it's time to move lanes or just stay in your lane, because there's times where you have to make those decisions where you need to reroute your GPS. You're like, I need to just stick to my lane right now, or I need to like cross over. And so mentorship can really help you get there. So you need a good mentor. Additionally, you need a coach. Like everyone knows that. So, and a coach is someone that will listen, okay, will reflect with you, help you process, but they won't tell you what to do. They might put something in a different perspective for you to think about it and then ask you what direction you want to go, but they don't tell you what to do, because that's mentorship. That's like consulting. You want someone that is actually going to sit and listen to everything you have to say and then recap it in a way that you can process it. It's thrown back at you. You're like, oh, okay. And then ask you questions to be like, okay, have you tried this? Have you done this? Like open up different areas so that you have one sound solution or different recommendations that will get you to your action item, your next step. And so I talk a lot about coaching in my other podcast too. And it's really important to understand that mentorship is critical. An executive coach is critical, but also like who's in the company that's there for you, who's got your back. And if someone doesn't have your back or has, let's say, there's always this, like, I don't know, maybe Tina doesn't really like you in the office and just personality things. Make sure that Tina doesn't get in your way for promotion, for opportunities, for initiatives. So that if it is, then how can you build a relationship with Tina? You don't have to be fake with Tina. Tina doesn't have to be your best friend. But how can you show respect for Tina and both work together so that she doesn't block these opportunities for you, right? And then additionally, you have to figure out when you're building these alliances, like it's almost like, think about it like an analysis. You need a good spreadsheet. Who's who? Who are you building relationships? When are you meeting with them? What information do you have from them? What can you provide them? How can you like work with them? So these are all things you need to understand when you're building alliances. They're strategic relationships that are going to help you move your goal, but also help them move their goal. So it's not just one-sided. It's like what they can do for you and what you can do for them. That's part of building that relationship, so that when they need something, they know to come to you, and when you need something, you can come to them. And that creates these strong alliances that increase engagement, decision-making, and also strategy. And so we don't think about building these alliances as we're building our career, because right out of the gate, we're just like, we're just going to move up. Like, I'm going to keep my head down and do the work. Well, fantastic. And then 10 years from now, your head is still down, you're still doing the work, and you're wondering why you're not getting promoted. Lastly, in building these alliances, you have to be open to feedback. People are going to tell you stuff that you're not going to like. Might hurt your feelings. Might hurt your ego. You need to take it. It could be a golden nugget or a dumpster dive. A golden nugget is some shed of information can really be helpful for you to develop your career. And a dumpster dive that's just their personal opinion, and it's not helpful. You can't do anything with it. And that's a strategic decision of being like, can I use any of this information to better my career, my advancement, my goals? And if it's a yes, then it's a golden nugget. If it's a no, then just put it in the dumpster. Don't revisit it. And also always say thank you, right? Because you never know when it's going to come up again. So in building your alliances too, you make sure that these professional relationships stay professional. Don't ever cross the line of being too friendly, too chummy, too besties, because besties at work are really fun to have. And don't get me wrong, I have my besties, but you have to make sure, can they also represent you, be your ambassador, have your back? Because maybe they don't, and that's not something on them. It's just like not an alliance that you choose to engage in to advance your career. You can still hang out, right? Lastly, for my newcomers into the career world, going out for happy hour, to the parties and hanging out is fun in the beginning, don't get me wrong. But whatever happens there stays with you, meaning it sticks to you like glue for your career. If you go out and like have a really good time, a happy hour, and everyone's talking about how funny, how crazy, and like how like you're the life of the party, that is the glue on you, and that's a label you carry. You don't want that. It's not going to be helpful. When you're advancing as a manager, they don't want the life of the party managing them. They want a manager. So make sure that you're separating personal from work. You can still bring your whole self to work, right? So in my teaching career, I bring my whole self as a teacher to work. So I share more personal stories. I relate to my students, right? But I don't tell them about my college years, about like that's not relevant nor important. And that's oversharing to them. Just like when I do executive coaching, most of my clients know barely anything about me, because that's not my job to tell them about my personal life or my professional, my accolades. Like, they can look me up, they have access to my bio, and they chose me, right? So they chose me for a reason. So I don't need to reinforce with being braggalicious about all the things I do and all my personal stuff. And in coaching, if a coach ever says like, oh, it's just like me, like the other day, like, Bill, like your story makes me think about, that's not coaching. That's a conversation. So it's really important to understand when you're building these relationships, like who's in your corner, what tools and resources you have, and who's your alliances. Now, so as we're kind of going through this, now here's the do's and don'ts of building alliances. Your do's: build authentic like relationships. Put the information somewhere. If you're having an Excel sheet, maybe you say, okay, Larry is really into like, I don't know, strategic books, leadership books. His birthday is this day, and he really is such a caring and loving person. So you put some notes about him personally, about what you know about him. So if if there's a great leadership book that comes out, hey, that's a great resource to give Larry, because Larry will be like, that is very thoughtful and that's genuine because you took those notes and you remember them. So your notes are your powerhouse, and you want to make sure that they're up to date, that you remember stuff. You might have a great memory, and that's fantastic, but if you don't, writing these things down in a space where no one has access to it, it's just you, so that you can remember. Because if you have 20 different relationships, it's really hard to remember all this stuff about them. So maybe next Brian, you're like, okay, so he's looking to move to a different department, and you just got wind that there's an opening coming up, and you're allowed to share that. So you might want to tell Brian, hey, this is coming up, like fix your resume, send it over to me, I can look it over. Then you're helping Brian. Believe me, Brian in the other department, once he gets there, he's going to help you too, right? Because of the information that you had on this like sheet that you carry, you can actually be really a resource to your alliances, and then the favor comes always back to you. So many times I share this in my classroom and trainings, that most of my clients that I've worked with, when they move to another company, they bring me. So I stay in the old company and then I work in the new one. That's because of the alliances I've built through that process, right? I make sure that my clients are satisfied. We're doing the work together. We're co-creating. And so that is critical, right? So that's a do. So build with your people, your alliances. Be a resource before you take. Don't be a taker, okay? Another thing you want to do is check in regularly. So this is like it might not be once a week. That might be too intense. Maybe it's once a month, right? But get it on the calendar. So, and it could be, hey, I'm just doing my check-in to see what's new in your department, what's going on. Or maybe once a quarter, you could do like coffee or virtual coffee, however you want it. But make sure in these alliances, you're meeting with them. Don't make it more than a half hour, right? It doesn't have to be a long drawn out thing, and always have an agenda. Maybe you don't share that with them, but you know what you're going to talk about. You know how you're going to engage with them, right? So always bring an agenda so you're ready. So you're not just twiddling your thumbs and being like, hey, what's new? Nothing? Oh, me either. Okay, that's great. Like, that is not building alliances. You just gave your power away and you wasted everyone's time. So come prepared. Be ready to learn, ask questions, get engaged. Be like, hey, I saw there's some change in your department. Tell me what's going on. How's that all playing out? Or there's a new policy rolling out. What do you think? How is that's going to impact us, right? Or did you see the survey that just came out? How did you answer some of these things? I'm not quite clear. So that's what I'm talking about. Like, bring a wealth of knowledge and questions to these meetings that you're trying to build your alliances. And it's an art to build. It's not going to start overnight, and there might be some resistance. So you might want to take a role of, hey, I'm just trying to learn more about your job. I want to see how we can work and collaborate together. I'm exploring some options. There's always ways to make that intro, but we want to stick to is really having that power and consistency in the meeting. So keep them short, 30 minutes, have an agenda always. And then at the end, after you meet with them, just send them a quick recap. Hey, Alex, it was so great to meet with you. I really enjoyed learning more about the new people in your department and this and that. And hey, so maybe we just check in 90 days or 60 days and just give each other updates. Again, thank you for your time. So you recap what you shared high level, and then a next time to meet, and you can even send a calendar invite, and then it's done, completed, and you feel good. Those are some good do's. Now here's the don'ts. Do not get personal. Do not make it all about you. Do not just ask and don't give anything back. That's not a relationship. That's just you taking. Don't speak poorly about other people, right? Even though you're just dying to talk about Sandra. Do not bring Sandra into the meeting. Paul, keep him out of there. Keep Paul out, okay? Just focus on building relationships. No gossiping at all. I'm pausing because I'm not even speaking ill of people, and especially your bosses. You never know what they know, right? So these aren't your friends, okay? They're your alliances. Build for success. Think about what you can do for them so you can build them up, because it's building you up too, okay? And then lastly, I really highly recommend you not go out on after hours where it involves alcohol or anything like that, because nothing has ever really come good of it from my experience, unless it's something that you've always done and it's part of your culture, and one glass of wine, one drink. But I'm talking for my people that really struggle at separating personal and work and go out and party really hard. Do not party with your alliances. They're not alliances. They become friends. And friends that party together don't get promoted together. So just keep that in mind. So that's kind of a wrap on how to build alliances. I hope this is helpful as I'm talking through this and making sure I give you all the information. Now, if you have any questions or need more feedback, please reach out to me. Subscribe to my channel. Ask me questions. I'm here to help you. And I hope that today you start making a list of who you need to work with, who's in your sphere of influence, and what alliances are you trying to create at work. Okay, that's a wrap. I'll see you soon. You totally got this.